You are a guardian angel and designer. Did you get what the f is you talking about, man? You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro? You are not from Harlem. I did not grow up with you, man. Do you remember how we met? Pause. Not met, how you got cool with us? Basically, you heard our freestyles. And you came up to me one day when I was chilling in front of the house. You said, yo, man, I heard the freestyles. Y'all killing shit. More freestyles come out. Y'all heard the new shit you did. Children of the Corn, 12-minute freestyle. Mace, Cameron, Cardan, DJ Clue. Google Bloodshed and Cameron, Children of the Corn, freestyle. Are you at any of these places? No, you was not there, man. You wasn't there.
Mace need to go on a diet. He need to get his life together. He need to go to the doctor and get a physical. He looked terrible, bad body, back ass. He look big around the neck, waist look crazy. I'm body shaming this. You heard? He need to go get his shit together, get on the treadmill, do some push-ups, do something. You heard? Especially for playing with me.
I was the CEO of Diplomats. I made Diplomats with him. I was with him for every bit of his journey. I held him down. I took that position of holding him down.
Harlem just got a whole lot more interesting, and the internet can't stop buzzing about it. Maze and Cameron just called out Jim Jones on their show It Is What It Is, and fans are labeling it one of the sharpest public callouts of the year. It all kicked off after Jim took some subtle shots in a recent interview, suggesting that Maze and Cam aren't really making moves anymore and that their prime passed long ago. Now, if you know Maze and Cam, you know they don't take that kind of talk lightly, especially coming from someone who came up alongside them in Harlem. So instead of ignoring it, they decided to respond on their own platform. And they didn't hold back. The clip starts off casual, with Cam cracking jokes as usual and Maze laughing with that calm, preacher-like tone. But once Jim's name came up, the mood shifted immediately. Cam leaned in toward the mic and said, "Yo, Jim been talking reckless lately, right?" Maze gave a knowing grin and replied, "Yeah, I heard." He must have forgotten who taught him that Harlem talk. The audience laughed, but it was clear things were about to heat up. Moments later, Maze began laying into Jim, saying, Jim been trying to rewrite Harlem history like he created something that was already established before he even showed up. Then he added, when I was touring with Biggie, Jim was still trying to get his name on the guest list. The crowd went wild.
You was a fan. You begged us. You are a fan, nigga. A fan. So you can sit around and act like you've been around all this Harlem shit and everything. You ever see somebody from Harlem try to act like they from Harlem so bad that you got to keep saying, I'm from Harlem? From Harlem, know who's from Harlem. You don't have to keep saying you from Harlem. Yeah, listen, man. Listen. You were fanned out and you begged niggas to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in. Mace actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap.
Mace taught me how to rap.
You say it. We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization. How you made Diplomat. Yeah, you ain't make none of this stuff. You was a fan. That's how you got down originally. Period. I heard the new shit you did. Yo, you want to come through? Come through. Why? Why are we going to Jomo's house? So yeah, I would bring some bitches over there to sometime. A little crack maybe.
Cam joined in too, roasting Jim for constantly trying to stay in the spotlight. He joked that it's wild how every few years Jim reinvents himself like a social media influencer. One year he's a rapper, the next he's a podcaster, then suddenly he's a real estate expert. Pick a lane, bro, Cam said, and the audience burst out laughing. Even the camera crew was struggling to keep it together. Fans online immediately started quoting the segment, saying Maze and Cam completely handled Jim without using a single curse word. But things soon got more personal. Maze pointed out that Jim's been carrying bitterness ever since Dipset fell apart, always blaming everyone else instead of taking responsibility. He reminded people that Jim was never really the frontman, that role always belonged to Cam. And no matter how many songs Jim released or how flashy his image got, he could never fill that position. Cam gave Maze a knowing look, and Maze continued, saying, now he's mad we're doing it again, without him. That hit hard because it carried some truth. Ever since Maze and Cam reunited for It Is What It Is, they've been winning big, viral moments, celebrity interviews, massive viewership. They've practically reshaped the talk show scene. Meanwhile, Jim's been throwing shade from the sidelines. So when Maze and Cam finally fired back, it felt like Harlem's own form of poetic justice, two legends reminding everyone who built the blueprint in the first place.
This shit ain't no game. They can't play with me too much. I give them the floor to do that because that serves me no purpose. I got too much to worry about, too much to do. They know what I've done. And dance around it all they want and shit like that, joking, but they know if I get upset, it's gonna be a real problem.
Get out of here.
Every nigga that put hands on you or you get to take you cool with him. You tried to chase French Montana out the game, that ain't work out. Y'all got cool. So cool that you go to his video shoot, pardon me, not his video shoot, his movie. You're sitting in the crowd watching the premiere and they dissing you in the movie. You in the movie getting dissed and you gotta eat it, just sitting in the crowd. Nah, they dissing you in the movie that you went to go see, bro. Every nigga that do something to put pressure on you, you sit there and work it out. But when they got a little genuine heart for you and all that, cool, that's the pattern. If they don't put hands on you, then you can keep going on and on and on. But the niggas who do this, you cool with, and then the niggas who try to handle it sophisticatedly, you keep going on and on like niggas give a f about all that shit, bro. Niggas don't care about none of that shit, man. Niggas don't care a little bit, man. What I'll finish with is this, man. I'm never here to downplay your character. As much as you try to degrade my character for years and push me under the bus and say, I ain't start this and I ain't do that, and you started Pink and you made the Diplomats, which is just... Do you ever hear me talk about when you ran on me when BMF pulled up? When you ran in the hotel, they chased you to the beach. They chased you to the beach, you was in the sand. You was getting wet from the water, from the ocean. I don't pump that. I don't pump all that shit because I ain't trying to make the great your character. You know why? Because the revolution was televised. That's why I'm here. That's why God worked like that. That's why me and Murder is here. The revolution was televised. Because you talking about.
Cam joined in too, roasting Jim for constantly trying to stay in the spotlight. He joked that it's wild how every few years Jim reinvents himself like a social media influencer. One year he's a rapper, the next he's a podcaster, then suddenly he's a real estate expert. Pick a lane, bro, Cam said, and the audience burst out laughing. Even the camera crew was struggling to keep it together. Fans online immediately started quoting the segment, saying Maze and Cam completely handled Jim without using a single curse word. But things soon got more personal. Maze pointed out that Jim's been carrying bitterness ever since Dipset fell apart, always blaming everyone else instead of taking responsibility. He reminded people that Jim was never really the frontman, that role always belonged to Cam. And no matter how many songs Jim released or how flashy his image got, he could never fill that position. Cam gave Maze a knowing look, and Maze continued, saying, now he's mad we're doing it again, without him. That hit hard because it carried some truth. Ever since Maze and Cam reunited for It Is What It Is, they've been winning big, viral moments, celebrity interviews, massive viewership. They've practically reshaped the talk show scene. Meanwhile, Jim's been throwing shade from the sidelines. So when Maze and Cam finally fired back, it felt like Harlem's own form of poetic justice, two legends reminding everyone who built the blueprint in the first place.
Stop tricking out their freedom, bro. This is gonna be the last time I address this. Whatever you got to say after this, good luck, I wish you luck. I got other shit to do. This is not on my motherfucking place. Believe what you wanna believe, because I got other things to do. You feel me, Murder? I ain't wanna snap one of them nose, but yeah, I'm good.
Here goes some popcorn stats.
What was your reaction when Cameron brought up all these old stories and everything about you?
I laugh, man. I got this thing, man. People laugh at the lies, but the truth always hurt. You know, lies are more entertaining. You heard? You get to laugh, you get the joke, but the truth is a serious thing, no matter how you look at it. The truth is what the truth is.
Maze stepped away from the rap scene for a while, found faith, and later tried to make peace with everyone. Cam, on the other hand, kept grinding, he evolved into a businessman and cemented his place as a Harlem legend. Jim tried to keep Dipset together, but after that versus battle against the Locks, things were never quite the same. The internet never let him live that down. That performance exposed the cracks. The crowd saw who truly had star presence and who didn't, and Jim became the punchline. So when he took shots at Maze and Cam this time, it felt like old resentment rising back to the surface, that unshakable Harlem pride that always lingers. Maze knew exactly how to hit that nerve. He called Jim out for acting self-made while standing on a foundation built by others. He said, "You can't call yourself the king of Harlem when you learned the game from the real ones." That line hit hard across the culture. Fans agreed, saying Maze wasn't wrong, because if you understand the Harlem hierarchy, Maze and Cam were already icons while Jim was still finding his lane. By the next morning, nearly every major hip-hop outlet had the same headline: Maze and Cam cook Jim Jones live on air. Some even called it career-ending, claiming there's no PR spin strong enough to recover from that kind of public roast.
Mace taught me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. He was like, boy, once you figure out how to rap the same way you act in these streets, it's gonna work for you. Just keep going. And that's all so I always gotta give credit to where credit is due and shit like that. It would be no Jim Jones.
Let's be honest, Jim tried to fight back, but it only made things worse. He began posting old photos of himself with Dipset, hoping to remind fans that he'd been part of the crew since day one. But the internet wasn't buying it. People started joking that he looked like the forgotten cousin in every picture. Then came the subliminal captions, "Real ones know the truth," and "Some people talk, some people work." But Maze wasn't letting it slide. On the next It Is What It Is episode, he came back calm, collected, and sharp as ever. He said, "I see Jim posting old pictures now. Bro, pictures don't equal presence. You can't post your way back to relevance." The crowd erupted. Cam laughed so hard he had to turn off his mic. Then Maze looked straight into the camera and delivered the knockout line, "You can't win an argument with me. I'm the one who taught you how to rap smooth and talk slick. Remember that." That quote instantly went viral. Cam jumped in too, adding, "Jim always acts like he made himself, but we gave him the glow up. We gave him the wave. We even gave him the confidence." He paused, then said, "Now he's out here acting like we're the ones chasing him." It was one of those moments where fans felt the truth was finally being said out loud, pure Harlem pride on display, and this time, Jim was the one in the hot seat.
You know, the internet gets kind of crazy with the lies. The lies are going crazy on the internet.
I mean, well, the lies start from a narrative, and the narrative starts from a person, and you just got to look at it like that. But I've never been one in my life to care about clearing up no rumors. Like, that just take time out my day for making money. I know who I am. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I stand 10 toes down on everything I believe in. I don't change my pivot, and everybody knows that. I mean, as you can see, I would not be here if I did anything else but be me.
I was at Jim album release party, and everybody was over there with Jim, and Cam is standing over here with like 3 or 4 people just looking on and couldn't believe that Jim is the guy. There's no Dipset without Jim. Jim is the gangbanger of the crew. Cam is not a blood. I don't even know if Joel's was. I doubt Freaky was, right? But the set, it comes from the gang, right? All the gang all ran under Jim.
Right.
All of the muscle was Jim. That wasn't Cam. You know what I'm saying?
Cam was like the Jay-Z.
Cam was the artist. Jim and Cam were partners, so to speak. But Jim took the role of being the underboss, the muscle, to make sure that Cam could function and move around and not have a bad reputation or be getting robbed and all this other stuff. So Jim put he stood front line for anything in regards to Cam, and then he put Dipset in front of Cam.
Cam and Jim history go back before me. You understand what I'm saying? When I met Cam and Jim, they were super close. So I honestly don't really know Jim being from the Bronx and all that. You know what I'm saying? When I met them, they was in 5H, which is, you know what I'm saying, Jim's apartment, and that's, you know, like, I guess that time was after all the stuff Cam had said already with the Children of the Corn and Jim, you know, whatever he said. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, when I got there, Cam and Jim was like this, super tight. Mace wasn't even in the picture. I don't know Mace like that. You know what I'm saying? Every time I seen Mace, it's been a mutual, you know what I'm saying, respect there. So, you know, that's what that's been as far as me and Mace. You know what I'm saying? As far as, yeah, when I met Cam and Jim, they were already Trump tight and locked in. You understand what I'm saying? The Diplomats was already a name they had. You know what I'm saying? I don't sit there and claim I made the dip, so that's not something I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I made Dipset though, the two. Yeah, I did that. You know what I'm saying?
Even people who had never taken sides began joining the conversation. Rappers, influencers, and even comedians started posting clips from the roast, calling it the most respectful destruction ever. You could tell Maze and Cam weren't coming from a place of hate, they were simply reminding everyone who truly built Harlem's foundation. But what really stung for Jim wasn't what they said, it was the weight behind their words. Maze and Cam have the platform, the influence, and the charisma. When they speak, the culture pays attention. When Jim posts, it often feels like he's just trying to be noticed. That's what fans were pointing out, that the Harlem hierarchy has already shifted, and Jim now sits lower on that ladder. By the end of the week, memes were everywhere. People were jokingly calling it Jim Jones versus. The podcasters in saying Maze baptized Jim with jokes. Others suggested Jim should stick to the studio because the internet clearly isn't his arena. The funny part? He actually tried to drop a freestyle a few days later, but it barely made a splash. The views were low, and the comments were brutal. As one fan put it, you can't freestyle your way out of humiliation, not when your name's trending for all the wrong reasons.
The wedge that came between Cam and Jim is Jim's success. Cam always looked at him as being the star, Jim being capo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's kind of like Sammy the Bull becoming John Gotti. You know what I'm saying? Gotti's probably gonna feel a little way if Sammy becomes the main man. You know what I'm saying? And in that situation, that's what it is. Jim started to grow as an artist. And as he started to grow as an artist, he started moving from standing behind Cam to he started standing next to Cam. And then it got to a point where he stood in front of Cam. Mm-hmm. And Cam was looking him over his shoulder like, yo, what you doing? And then that built the animosity. And by the time Ballin' hit, Cam had a gang of animosity and internal hatred. And I know because I seen it, I was there. I felt like he was a fucking hater because like I felt like he was supposed to be happy for Jim. He was under the wing. Jim was the muscle. You get what I'm saying? Jim he's Cam's partner. But he's taking a step back to play the muscle.
Now that the dust has settled, one thing is obvious, Maze and Cameron came out on top, and they did it with style. They didn't yell or threaten. Instead, they used humor, facts, and pure Harlem finesse to strip down Jim Jones's ego in real time. Fans summed it up perfectly, they buried him with smiles. Even people outside of hip-hop tuned in just to witness how two Harlem veterans could roast another so smoothly it felt like a masterclass. But underneath the jokes, there was a deeper message. This wasn't about clout, it was about legacy. Maze and Cam spent decades building Harlem's cultural and musical reputation, while Jim spent his time chasing trends. That's why fans said he might not recover, because this wasn't just a clapback, it was a reality check. In Harlem, respect isn't bought, it's earned. And when your own people say you've fallen off, that's a wound that doesn't heal easily. Maze captured it perfectly during the show's closing moments. He said, "I don't hate Jim. I just hate revisionists. If you were there, tell the truth." If you weren't, stop acting like you built the building we already opened. That line hit hard. It wasn't petty, it was truth delivered with class. Even Kim gave him credit, saying, "That's why we legends. We don't need gimmicks." And since then, Jim's gone quiet, no new lives, no interviews, no diss tracks. Just silence. Some think he's regrouping. Others believe he's realized there's no real comeback from this. Because how do you respond when the very people who helped shape you remind the world that they made you? At the end of the day, this whole situation highlighted the difference between icons and imitators. Maze and Cam built legacies that still hold weight decades later. Jim built moments that faded with time. It is what it is proved they still own the conversation, and they didn't need a beat, a hook, or a diss track to do it. Just a mic, a laugh, and the truth. So sure, Jim might pretend he's unbothered. But Harlem saw it. The internet saw it. Everyone saw it. Maze and Cam didn't just clown him, they reset the hierarchy. And once you get humbled like that, live on camera, there's no PR move on earth that can bring your swagger back. Because when Harlem legends speak, the whole culture listens.